exceed the horror of a culture that forces us to participate in, through our tax dollars, through our silent complicity, the killing of unborn children. So we have to see, and we have to help other people see. We are advocates for those who can't speak for themselves. An advocate is another term for a lawyer. And if a lawyer didn't present all and the very best evidence on behalf of his client, the lawyer would be in breach of his obligation to his profession, and a mistrial would be declared. We, as Christians, are obliged, just as advocates, just as lawyers, those who speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves, to present the strongest, most compelling evidence for the protection of those who are being killed. When we were out this morning, we encountered a pastor from a local church who was taking the pamphlets from the mailboxes, and he ripped up a number of them, had a number of them in his hands. He was a young man in his 30s, fervent and articulate, probably a good God-fearing man. But his arguments were misguided. His first objection was that his 8-year-old daughter had seen this picture, and that this was his home community. And what right did we have to bring this horror before his child and into his home? These were his neighbors. How dare we defile the sanctity of their community? And this is not an easily waved off concern. All of us have been hurt by the affront of our coarsened culture as it's come into our families, through the media, through just the overall sort of deadening of our refined sensibilities, our love for what is beautiful, our concern for what is delicate. We've all been hurt and harmed by this. And so when they begin with this objection, we can't help but agree. And yet that objection notwithstanding, babies are dying. And so we don't have a right to peace in a land where abortion is being performed. Now, what about the child? Is the child traumatized? Well, when my older children were young, Barney the dinosaur was all the rage. And Barney the dinosaur was sort of a caricature, like a ridiculous depiction of moral vacuity. But there was no substance to him whatsoever. I can't even remember how the little ditty goes, but it's something like, I love you, you love me. There is nothing substantial to this at all. But at an earlier time, all of us, I think, are familiar with the great children's stories laid down in the Brothers Grimm, Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood. Now, these are stark depictions of the struggle between good and evil, and children have a much clearer understanding of this than we do. Because we live in a moral gray area, all sorts of attending circumstances and mitigating factors and things like that. But children see the clarity of right and wrong, good and evil. Why? Well, partly because they haven't been corrupted, but also because they are vulnerable in a way you and I aren't. We perceive confidence. And there's a sort of coarseness that comes with our confidence. So when children see these pictures, they see not something that's perverse, but rather a victim. And their empathy is awakened. Another person on the tour today was talking about how a mother and child encountered the pictures, and the mother was violently angry, spewing all sorts of obscenity. And the child was captivated by the picture and said, "Who broke the baby?" Children see the truth of this. Now, for years and years, my wife and I have been bringing our 7 children on to show the truth. And it's been I hate coming, because my job as father is provider and protector. And I'm always terrified that something's going to happen. My son Peter, who's not here, 2 summers in a row, he was assaulted. But the police filed assault charges against him. He wasn't hurt, but there is a real possibility of this. And it's terrifying to all of us. And yet, it's such a vital part of our education. I think because our culture has become so immersed in this sort of spiritual deadening, we've been like those glowing frogs. I think it's necessary for us to bring our children to stand up and speak the truth with us, shoulder to shoulder, to cultivate a sort of a maturation of moral responsibility in them. And it's good for them to see us afraid for them and unsure of ourselves. You know, I don't think parenting is to be like, you know, some sort of inaccessible porcelain image of parental perfection. I mean, they see us struggling, they see us weary, grumpy towards each other, you know, and then pulling together because this is what we're supposed to do. And so there's a fantastic morality play that we not only observe, but we participate in every time we go out and rescue. And amazingly, you know, we go out there, usually for a week in July and a week in August, this time the 2 weeks combined. And sometimes people swear at us, a lot of people flip us the bird, occasionally people throw things at us. And my kids say it's the best 2 weeks of the year. You know, it's the thing to look forward to. Then the pastor went on to say that he didn't think that the Crisis Pregnancy, in fact he was certain that the Crisis Pregnancy Center here in town would not want us here, and that we did not come at the invitation of the Crisis Pregnancy Center. And he said that one of his congregation works at the Crisis Pregnancy Center, and that he's certain that she feels that what we're doing is diametrically opposed to what they are doing. And he, as a pastor, was likewise convinced that what we are doing is diametrically opposed to what he is doing. And he said that he is against abortion. And I believe, I'll take him at his word, that he is against abortion. But he thinks that what we are doing is counterproductive. He says that he walks the walk with women who've had abortions, who've made that decision, and who are trying to move on with their lives. And that we create an environment that makes them think that God hates them. And this is not the truth. That was the first thing that I had to say to his caricature of what we are doing. It's not the truth. Many of the people who are here are also involved in the pastoral side of pro-life work. So there's the prophetic and the pastoral. And as Father Tony was talking about today, Father Tony's a real thinker. I love sitting with him. He was saying that the church has become enamored with the accolades that go with being pastoral, with being loving. But we've lost the courage to face the criticisms that come with being prophetic. That we have to be willing to endure misunderstanding and persecution. And that comes with being prophetic. So, yes, I believe this pastor that he walks the walk with women, and as he said, after they've made the decision. But I said the incompleteness of his understanding was portrayed in the very wording he used. He said, after they made that decision, he reduced the baby killed by the abortion to a decision that was made in the past. Now here's the crux of it. The pastoral cannot be completed without the prophetic. We have to look at what abortion is. We have to have the murdered child as the icon, the symbol from which understanding flows on abortion. The cross, the greatest evil that ever occurred, also the greatest love that ever occurred. This is the icon of Christianity, the image, the picture that speaks beyond any words could ever say. Similarly, the baby killed by abortion has to be the icon for making sense of abortion. We can't become muddled in confusing imagery like the coat hanger or portrayals of any truthful account of the horror of abortion as a persecution of the mothers and fathers who are also themselves victims. We have to remember that the central victim of abortion is the baby that's killed. And then, when we all do that as a culture, we can be free from the guilt. So, I don't think the pastor was convinced. At least he wasn't convinced today. He said that he was committing himself to try and undo the damage that we're doing in the community. And I said, well, we should pray for each other. And he reluctantly agreed. But the thing is, that was the end of the conversation then. But it's not the end of the conversation. Because the conversation continues for all of us. Like we're all constantly being reinvented. We're all falling and getting up, falling and getting up. And so this pastor, he's a Christian. He believes in Jesus. He believes in loving other people. And there's great hope for him. The same hope that has brought us to where we are and will bring us, with God's grace to be saints. So, the great thing is, like Father Tony always says, we know how it ends. We should have perfect confidence in God. We know how it ends. So we just want to be part of the glorious narrative of it all. So, if you could, if it's possible, there could be a lot of reasons why it's not possible for you to participate. And, there are a lot of, there's a lot of reluctance, it's very understandable, doing it in your own town. When we did Show the Truth in my town the first time, I teach high school, and I had a new principal, and this principal's wife, don't tell me, this principal's wife was the department head in my school, and she and I had a big run-in a couple of years earlier, so he was kind of gunning for me. So the first day of school, he comes up to me, he had a very gravelly voice, he said, "Isn't it? School hasn't even started, and I've got 2 parental complaints against you." And it was about Show the Truth. So we can take real heat for this in our own community. I don't know. Nobody's going to fault you if you don't show up. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe God would. I don't know. But I'm saying, I won't fault you because lots of times I haven't shown up. But if you can, you'll pay the price. People will be angry at you. But boy, what a glorious witness, And we just, as Christians, we aspire to be beyond the rising and setting of the sun, to be beyond this moment, to enter into the glory of eternity. And in that glory, we want to be standing shoulder to shoulder with, the unborn who die, innocent victims. So, you're all invited. Rosemary, when are we going?
I was hoping you'd ask.